Come on, come on. Brand new day. This is Marvin Krazy Crawford. I'm at you again, host of Straight Jacket Communications, or president of Straight Jacket Communications and host of How to Find Success by Losing Your Mind. This episode is called Pay Attention. Now, I once heard from Dr. A.R. Bernard of New York's Christian Cultural Center. He said, attention is very much like money. It's something that has to be paid. Because if we don't pay attention, we will pay someone. And I'll go so far as to say, if we don't pay attention, we will pay everyone. And we'll never be paid, okay? And if we don't pay attention, we will pay everyone else our resources, our time, and our talents, and we're never paid. In other words, we're never quite rewarded for those things that we give out. Now, that should be a contradiction to the laws or universal laws, which we'll be talking about later, such as reaping and sowing. It is said, what you sow, so shall you reap. Well, something's wrong with that, because many of us out here are sowing a great deal of effort. We are sowing a great deal of work. We're sowing a great deal of intentions. We're sowing a great deal of involvement. We're sowing something in the lives of the people that are around us. Many of us are sowing in terms of our job. Now, our jobs is a very interesting thing. You've heard it said that we suffer from gas, the great American standoff. And that's where we go into a job and we work hard enough just to keep from being fired, and they pay us just enough to keep us from quitting. And if you and I don't pay attention to that scenario and say to ourselves, wait a minute, something's wrong with this picture, then we'll do it using up one of the most abused commodities in the entire universe, and that's our time. That's the one thing that we get, that we all get an equal amount of. Bill Gates doesn't get any more of it than we do, Donald Trump and the likes, but we get it all in equal amounts, but we do various things with it. In other words, it's not so much the time that we get, but what we do with the time. So if we're talking about planting, say for instance, sowing, as I started out by saying, sowing, we've sown at the same job for 5 years, for 7 years. Now remember when you used to can have a job for 30 years or 35 years and you'd retire. Well, guess what? Those days are gone. They're talking about getting rid of Social Security, or it running out, which has now been coined social insecurity. They're talking about the removal of the 401ks. We're talking about the removal of retirement and work as we know it. Yet most of us are sowing into an old system with old antiquated ways. It's just like us driving on the Autobahn in a Model T Ford. Something's got to give, and chances are we will not arrive where we need to arrive, or where it's possible for us to arrive, if we keep using outdated methods. So in Straight Jacket Communications, what we're simply doing is looking around, paying attention, and saying, we want everyone, wherever you are universally, to look around you and look at what 90, 95, sometimes as high as 97% of people are doing, and run like hell in the opposite direction. It's not working. It's not going to work. In many cases, it never did work. Right now, we're looking at a situation where joblessness is reaching an all-time high. We're talking about hopelessness, an all-time high. The churches are doing what they can do, but in many cases, and in often cases, no. But this is not to point the finger to any or to everyone else, but to point the finger to ourselves. The buck stops here. We're talking about UP. It's time for us to think up. It's time for us to think about universal positioning, universal purpose. We're talking about universal problems. We're talking about universal potential. We're talking about each and every one of us getting out with all that we have, knowing that all we need is all we have, and all we have is enough. Sure, we can all think. In order for us to do something universally, we're going to need more than we have now. Well, I'm going to leave you with this little bit by Les Brown, a mentor of mine, motivational speaker, he said the easiest thing that he had ever done in his life was to make $1 million. But the hardest thing that he ever did, and I want you to get this on the YouTube family, MySpace, or Twitter, wherever you find this, I want you to hear me when I say the easiest thing he said he'd ever done was to make $1 million. But the hardest thing that he ever did was to believe that he can do it. So for us to think up, for us to think universally and come for it, solve a universal problem, or get into a universal position where we can finally take our stand in terms of living the big dream, where we can finally position ourselves and recognize that it's not that the opportunities are not available, the information is not available, that we are not availing ourselves to it. The moment that we can do that, to think about the you in the P, the you in the problem, the you in the position, the you in terms of purpose or a God-given purpose, a ministry, a calling, if you will, a book, a dance, a CD. I wrote my book, How to Find Success by Losing Your Mind, knowing nothing about how to write a book. Will it be a bestseller? Of course, because it already is in my head. You understand? And you can say, well, that's universal pomposity, or that's universal, ridiculousness. But no, I'm thinking up because I recognize it's been said many times long before I got here. What the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve. See, it's not my opinion. It's very often my opinion that keeps me where I am, but my opinion has very little to do with truth. So we're talking about universal position, we're talking about universal people, we're talking about universal purpose and expression, but now we're going to need to get some people involved, and that's where it's going to get fun. We're going to go downtown San Antonio, Texas, the awesome amount of people that helped me give my loving daughter, Yvonne, who just turned 27, a birthday gift beyond birthday gifts. And now we want to see how the world can come in alignment with your dreams, starting with what you have. Remember, all you need is all you have, and all you have is enough. Now I want you to take note of something right now. I know you're thinking, I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have the other. We come from a place of lack. It said that 87% of our self-talk is negative, and much of it is repetitive. In other words, so we repeat the same garbage, but remember, garbage in is garbage out. So what I want you to do is to recognize that if what you need is all that you need is all that you have, and all that you have is enough, I want you to now get some people involved with where you are. So we're going downtown San Antonio, as I said, and we're going to see some universal expression and universal participation. Come on with it. All right, let's go.